All right, so today I want to talk about the overall importance of the sun, moon, and ascendant when it comes to astrology and stuff like that, and how to be tapped in with these heavenly bodies and stuff like that for your own internal natures and stuff like that, and being able to go through different transitions every time there's a different sun pocket, and the moon being a reflection of that sun pocket, or like the image, or like the attraction, so you can get the attention, aka the sun sign, and stuff like that, so you can have the right action and reactions in the way of displaying yourself during these different shifts and transitions and things of that nature. So for the most part, we already know the sun deals with your actions and your directions and the spirit and the space you in and stuff like that. So when you talk about the spirit and the space, this is like the birth or the breath before life and stuff like that. So this can equate to all possibilities, and you know what I'm saying, being in your lightest state of being, the lightest form, the experiencing for the first time and stuff like that. And for the most part, it's kind of like being your first expression before you start soaking into the emotion and feelings, before you add a whole bunch of logic and rationality behind it, and think and communicate about that, aka air type perspective, like air sign type perspective, or like the air element type perspective in general and stuff like that, and before it materializes and stuff like that, so you can receive something out of it based upon the external reference or the physicality of it, and you putting that work schedule routine based upon the structure and foundation, and you being stable in it in some way, shape, or form and stuff like that. So it's like the fire aspect, the expression and stuff like that, the breath of life and shit like that, the making a new shape and form and burning through reality, and being able to have that vision or that foresight before it actually becomes actual, like reality for the most part, like before it becomes the physical and shit. So from you understanding the main direction, you start understanding, it's like tapping into like your inner fire, your creativity and stuff like that, and seeing like into the future type shit, that main foresight. Because anybody who has a vision and actually want to have some type of prosperity and stuff like that, right, they have to see through the reality of their whole situation and shit like that. So it's beyond the physical examples, it's beyond the words that's being said, it's beyond the emotions and feelings that's being thrown onto you and stuff like that. You create your own little magic or your own little emotional feeling, your own manifestation, until you want to materialize your way of how you want to go about it and conduct it and stuff like that, for the most part. So that's like you shining your sun, you shining your individuality, you shining your creativity, you shining your expression, you shining your what you like to pay attention to and shit like that, your way of how to conduct these things, and then you being into a heavenly body, aka the atmosphere in the sky and stuff like that, based upon the on transition. You have your little pocket of the overall pocket, and then each one teach one, and then we can all collectively build on these things based upon our own type of expression and cultivating something for ourselves, and that just goes into culture and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? There's a deep ass nuance for the most part. And then the moon would be like the whole, I don't know why I keep doing that with my hands, but like the moon would be like the whole attraction or the emotion and feeling or the soul or the necessity or the carrying motherly nature energy, aka the eternal mirror, the reflection, the reaction to whatever action you just did, and you showing the image of that, of you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, it can, like the sun will be like the lighter version of that, and then darkness is just the accumulation of light. So it's like the darkness, it's like how you go about it internally from what you externally express, even though this is like a yin yang perspective and these are internal things before it become outward. But I'm just giving examples based upon like paraphrasing and shit like that in English to make it make sense. So it's how you act and how you see things and how you are enlightened and stuff like that. So the lighter shape and form of, you know what I'm saying? Because like when you enlighten someone, you're lifting up their spirit, aka you giving them knowledge and wisdom based upon how you see something, and based upon like, you know, your own thought idea, feeling, emotion and shit like that. So that's like food for thought, or giving someone knowledge and wisdom and shit like that. And just based upon the words you're saying and stuff like that, I'm not giving you something physically, but you're listening to what I'm saying. So it's helping with something internal. So it's like an internal nature. You get it? You know what I'm saying? Like in reality, this actually makes hella sense. This is why people be looking for, like, if you want to go in a religious type of program based upon like preachers and teachers and shit like that, or having some type of like education or like spirituality or a higher meaning and reasoning before it becomes a reality. Like, why are you doing it and shit like that? And you only gonna be doing that for self-serving purposes, to like feed some type of pride and ego, aka that's like a distorted narcissistic like very version of like you being in your sun and stuff like that. Not to say having an ego is bad, but it's when you start over exhausting this thing to act out this certain character, right? And you want some type of self-serving thing. So that's like a validation type of thing. So like praise, and you take pride in that, but you need to be taking pride in your ability to do that. You know what I'm saying? Your ability to do that, not something based upon a frame of reference of something outside yourself. Not to say it's bad to have love and appreciation, right? That's genuine, or niggas giving you your flowers for what you're doing, but just don't get lost in that for the most part. You know what I'm saying? You ain't getting lost into the monetary gain. You getting more into, okay, how can I keep cultivating this ability and do it again so I can cultivate something else that's new and refreshing and shit like that, and not get stuck in the external representation, so I can keep having this sentience and stuff like that, and make a new body, make a new form, make a new organ. That's the main point for the most part of giving life and sentience to the shit. And then, yeah, this is like the sun shit. And then like the self-reflection and the image would be like the moon, and like how you internally feel about that thing you just like externalized based upon that emotion and feeling. It's like the yin and yang. The sun will be the yang of that yin, and then the moon will be like the internal nature, the yin yin. Like, how do you feel about that thing first before you externalize it? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, right. And then like the sun will be like the sponsor, and then the moon will be like the response. So the sun will be like the protector or the shield, and then the moon will be like the sword type shit. So it's like your expression or the character that you display and stuff like that is like protecting how you actually feel about yourself on the inside and shit like that. So it's like burning some shit off. So you feel the passion, you feel the expression, you feel the warmth, you feel the humidity. It start creating a certain temperature, like a temperament and shit like that. It start creating like a gas type shit for the most part. So yeah, it's like your overall space, and then the moon will be like the spaceship. So how you gonna guide your ship and shit like that, and then the ascendant, how you rise to the occasion and shit like that, and your personality and your personal insecurities, issues, and affairs, and your personal assertiveness or your personal way of how you want to conduct it is like the appearance for the most part. So the sun will kind of be like the character or like the attitude or the expression of how you go about it. The moon will be the emotion and feeling and the reaction. So how you go about that thing. So that it's like the interior design. Think of it like a goddamn. Think of it like it's a car. The moon will be like the internal. The moon will be like the inside of the car. It'll be like the interior design of the car, like how you want that shit to look. And then like the sun will be like how it drives and shit like that, or like what yeah. Like the sun will be like how it drives and shit like that, and then the ascendant will be like how the car looks like what car company is it made by, for the most part, if you want to look at it like that. So if this is like a car, the moon will be like the interior design and the shit that's inside the car, you know what I'm saying, all the way down to like the engine and shit like that and how it works. And then the sun will be like the mileage or like how fast a car is or the type of car it is type shit. And then the ascendant or the rising will be like the appearance of the car. So like the color or how it's like designed and shit like that. Like you know what I'm saying? Like how it looks like. How do you want to like the appearance and the design to look like for the most part? But yeah, this is just the importance of the sun, moon, and ascendant, right? And these internal natures, and how you can build yourself up to actually come as yourself and shit like that, and not get lost into something outside yourself and make it a synthetic thing, and you come way more genuine and you be way more in sync with yourself and the external natures of these things. So it's kind of like this. So it's like the sun is like your father, aka the farthest light. You know what I'm saying? The farthest like vision, reference, like the farthest foresight, the farthest like the way you shine and shit like that, the way you get attention, like what's gonna take you the farthest by expressing this thing for the most part, right? That's like your father, and then the moon is like your mother for the most part, nurturing, caring type of energies and stuff like that, right? And then the rising is like your personality within those two things. So if I want to explain this from like an overall aspect, like the spirit, mind, and body aspect, the body or the physical version of that, I'm gonna use like a genealogy type of example for the most part, right? So you got like your mother, then you got your grandmother, then you got your great grandmother type shit, right? This is like this is like a multi-dimensional way of looking at it and shit like that. So like the body version of that will be like your mother, so like your immediate mother and stuff like that. So your mom is like your parent and shit like that, and that's like immediate. So that's an immediate reference point that you can go towards for that motherly, caring, nurturing type of energy for the most part to help you with your internal natures and shit like that. Oh, you need some help with some woman shit for the most part, regardless if you like a man or a woman and shit like that, and you're a son or a daughter, but it's like a daughter type of example for the most part, right? You're gonna go to your mom about that thing. Let's say you're going through something when it comes to like your period and shit like that, or something going on with your pussy, or like you know what I'm saying, like something going on with like your breasts and shit like that. You know what I'm saying, like womanly type of things. You're gonna go to your mother about that. Something to do with emotion and feeling. You're gonna go to your mom about that before you go to a nigga about that, right? And I'm explaining like the man part. So boom, that's like your mother. And then you got your grandmother. So that's like a grandmaster. It's like she done already spent her time being a mother for your mom, right? So she know how to conduct the mind better when it comes to emotions and feelings, right? So this is like 4th, 5th, 6th dimensional type way of looking at it, right? The mom will be like the physical immediate. So that's like the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd dimension. That's like the physical version. And then your grandmother is like the 4th, 5th, 6th dimensional version. If you don't want to look at it like that, look at it like, oh, she has a better mind of how to conduct herself as a woman, the attraction and shit like that, right? Caring about the right things and shit like that. And then the 7th, 8th, 9th dimensional version, aka your great grandmother, right? That's like the great grandmaster and shit like that. She can help you when it comes to your spirit. And then all the way down to physical age. She done went through so many experiences and shit like that that help the grandmother right? Who have your mother, and then she had you, and you her daughter or her son or whatever, whatever like that, right? Well, I'm focusing on the daughter real quick, right? It's like a martinial matriarchy, like lineage type of thing. Not a matriarchy, but like y'all get what I'm trying to, y'all get what I'm trying to, y'all get y'all get what the fuck I'm trying to say. I'm stammering on my words and shit. So like, yeah. And then the same thing will be like if you have like a son and shit like that. You're gonna go to your dad, right? When it comes to directing how to go about something. Right? They're gonna be way more like women are walking vibrations, men are like walking frequencies and shit like that. Women are gonna be more into the attraction, motherly caring, emotion, and feeling way more in their mind about shit and internalizing shit. And then a man's gonna be way more of the overall broad aspect of like how this can help everybody. So it's like a lot of events and shit like that, all the way down to them having a dick and the shit get erect. So it's like a line and shit like that. It's not dispersing everywhere and shit like that. Like when a pussy get wet and it go everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Get wet everywhere and shit like that. It's like it's more like that. It's like, oh yeah, it start going into like that man up masculine energy type perspective and shit like that, right? They're gonna be looking at the thought and idea of something and making sure that get protected or provided or that gets maintained. Not the material synthetic version, all the way down to paying bills and shit like that and holding the shit down. It can go into that too, but when you get too lost into that, right, you ain't really being a real man. You just get lost into a synthetic version of being a man. So that's like being a beta male and shit like that. You can like it's not no helping people. It's like not being of service of the people. It's like some self-serving thing, and it's like this weird. You get lost into a certain emotional feeling of how you want some shit to go about something and shit like that, right? So, right, it's like wants and needs and shit like that. The sun is like your wants and the moon is like your needs, and then it can play out in the physical version, like masculine, feminine, man and woman, and shit like that. A man is like the light, and then the woman's like the darkness. The man is like the wants, and then the woman's like the needs and shit like that, right? The man is like the conveniences, pay attention more to the convenience of something, and the woman's going to pay more attention to the necessities. The nigga's going to pay way more to the building and the attention, right, of how to get attention about something and building and structuring shit. And then a female's going to be more into like the goddamn, like the attraction and like the image of how to go about something, right? How it looks. Now, you should never get lost into your wants and needs for the most part. You don't get lost into your wants and needs. You only gonna get what you deserve and shit like that. So that's like the sun and moon. You can't get lost into your wants and needs, right? You can't get lost into how it's structured, how it's built, or the image and shit like that. For the most part, like you still gonna express yourself and do what you need to do for the most part, but you can't get too lost into the emotion and feeling. That's you getting lost into your mind too much. You can't get too lost into wanting something because you lack it. So it's just gonna turn into like a validation type issue and shit like that. Like how you come off type shit and like what you're like seeking, like what are you like soughting after, especially if you start getting mad physical and shit like that. I'm not trying to say that's bad. I'm trying to say it's like a compartmentalization and shit like that. Like getting too lost into either or. Don't get lost into your wants and needs, right? Your conveniences and your necessities. You're only gonna get what you deserve the minute you're not lost into that. You just being you. You just being yourself. So from you being yourself, yeah, you're gonna have necessities that you want to keep up on a day-to-day basis to help you just with your internal issues, especially and shit like that, right? But you're always gonna have wants, right? And that want is just a lacking of something of, okay, I want this thing, aka a convenience and shit like that. I don't need it, but it will be convenient if I did have this thing because I can build on this thing to make it more broad. Aka that could be like, oh, I want $1 million, right? But I'm not gonna like slime out my close friends and family who truly know me and shit like that for this $1 million, right? It's not a necessity, but it would be really cool if I had this million because I can help put my people in a position and shit like that, and I can help people do this, then, the third. Not no self-serving concept type shit to make y'all understand what I'm saying, right? So going back to what I was saying earlier about the whole father grandfather shit, right? Yeah. So you got like your father who can help you have a better way of protecting the woman being your emotion and feeling, right? The feminine energy and shit like that. And then you have your grandfather who has a grand way of going about it, and then you have your great grandfather, and then it starts turning into like a whole patriarchy type of thing, partennial type of thing and shit like that, based upon like, you know what I'm saying, like familial ways of their actions, right? All the way down to ancestors. So the people who came before you, literally. So it's like an ancestral type of thing. People who came before you, what did they do when it came to their actions to help them protect their people based upon what they cultivated and what they did in their life to leave a legacy so the next generation can do that. So that's what your great-grandfather did. All the way down, it passed down to your grandfather. All the way down, it passed down to your father. The same way how it could be on some like, oh, if they got married and shit like that, right? And they have like this family heirloom or like a ring they passed down, and it keep going generation to generation, and it kept being passed down. You know what I'm saying? It kept, you know what I'm saying? It's like secondhand, right? But do this thing in a new way. But these are like gifts and talents or information or different ways of expression that we cultivated in our way of going about it and stuff like that. All the way down to culture and shit like that. And there's many different types of culture. And that's why it's good to protect that and uphold that. right? And that all the way goes back to the sun, moon, ascendant concept and shit like that, right? Or what I was saying earlier with the sun mean, with the moon mean, and with the ascendant mean and shit like that, and being in these different pockets of you generally like being yourself, right? Because there's a deep esoteric knowledge of doing this thing all the way down to the physical examples that I just said and stuff like that, of how this can be cultivated in your own culture, your own family, your own internal natures, your own actions, your way of going about life in general and shit like that, and your actions, your reactions, and your personality, how to go through these things and shit like that. But yeah, like that's really my main point. You're able to go through these transitions, right? And you're still upholding that gold that you can you like, you know what I'm saying? You still in that same space that you can keep replenishing that same gold over and over and shit like that, because you went so hard in the paint when it comes to your passions and motivations and your creativity, your culture, your you know what I'm saying, making new ways of how to conduct yourself and shit like that. Actually dealing with your insecurities, your internal energies and shit like that. Having good shield, a good protection system and shit like that. Your own personal way of going about it and shit like that. Your own personal assertiveness, your own personality and shit like that. Your own affair, your own ascendant shit. I forgot the other word. Personal affair, insecurity, and it was another one. It was another one. Personality and shit like that. It was another one, but I forget. But like, yeah. So yeah, for the most part, from you actually developing and going way more hard into that for something that actually matters, right? Because it's all about what you pay attention to and what matters, right? It's gonna get materialized and manifested and materialized in your reality and shit like that. And then people look at you as you being a walking star, a walking example, a walking light, a walking enlightenment, a walking, like, you know, preacher, teacher, whatever the fuck you want to call it and shit like that, of how to go about these things in a better way. That's not a synthetic version that's based off someone else's legacy, based upon someone else's name, based upon someone else's something that they anthropomorphized, right? And that works for them and their family, but you're not them. All the way down to phenotype, all the way down to ethnicity, all the way down to bloodline, all the way down to culture, all the way down to how you conduct your, you know what I'm saying? Like, everyone got their own way of how they deal with their own shit and their family and shit like that, right? And how they go about things in their own lives and shit like that, right? And what's like flowing through their blood and shit like that. Now, it don't mean people don't have their own mind. It don't mean people don't have their own individuality and shit like that. It don't mean, right, niggas don't have their own system, right? But it's all about making new organs, aka making new life, aka making new fruit, aka making more information, having new experiences and shit like that, having your own way of how to go about something, and then spreading that out and learning other people's ways how to go about it, so you can make a teamwork, make the dream where everyone can cultivate their own thing. And it's all genuine. It's not no synthetic version. No one trying to slime someone out based upon some type of self-serving ego, right? It ain't gonna be some lonely at the top type of concept and shit like that. It's not gonna be no middleman. It's not gonna be no weird like manipulation. It's not gonna be like some alternative motive type shit. And if we see someone who do got an alternative motive and shit like that, you know how that look like. Cause if you come in your genuine energy and shit like that, all you're gonna keep attracting is someone who's not like that. So you're just gonna keep on going through experiences of like, oh, this person is lost into this thing. Oh, this person is insecure. Oh, this person is trying to get one over me based upon some type of ego or pride or like some material thing. Like, it's something that I got that they can't get to all the way down to an internal nature. They don't know how to deal with this thing, so they use a synthetic thing of something outside themselves based upon like a validation issue and shit like that, because they don't know how to self-reflect, aka moon energy. They don't know how to self-reflect. That's why they're self-projecting on me about something they lack, aka a want, because they know it's a necessity, it's a need for them, but they don't know how to fulfill that little pocket. It's like holes. It's like a sponge. Like, they don't know how to fill that void. And they see me being a walking example of how to go about that, you know what I'm saying, in my life and on the land and shit like that in real time. And it's like this weird, like, jealousy type of thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. That's the main point, though. Like, be yourself for real. Like, come as yourself and shit like that. But this is, like, the main importance of knowing what your sun sign is, knowing what your moon sign is, knowing what your ascendant is, knowing your actions, knowing your reactions, knowing your emotions and feelings and shit like that, knowing your expression, knowing your visions, knowing your personality, knowing your way of how you want to go about your personal insecurities, issues, and affairs and shit like that, and how you want to personally assert yourself and bring yourself to the world and the appearance, right? And know your wants and needs, and not getting lost into the wants and needs, because you're only going to get what you deserve when you're not lost into your wants and needs. You know you have necessities, you know you have conveniences, so you're not focusing on a monetary gain, and then something happens where you do get a monetary gain out of it, right? You still thinking of like the overall vision. Okay, I'm gonna just use this thing just for me being in the system, just based upon what I'm into and shit like that. And I'm gonna get this money, and I know how to utilize this $1 million, not gonna use it for some bullshit type shit. Like, yeah. And then you just making a new legacy, a new leg to stand on, and then you making your ancestors happy, you make your family happy, you make everyone happy. Something they can actually be proud of and shit like that, for the most part. You upholding some shit based upon your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather, your grandmother, well, your mother, your grandmother, and then your great-grandmother and shit like that. So it's like, yeah, bro. Yeah, bro, like, niggas gotta focus on this. Niggas gotta focus on that. Niggas gotta care about that. Not that synthetic bullshit, for the most part. But, yeah. You know how to transmute. You know how to pivot. You know how to go through the different transformations all the way down to the experience you go in your physical life and stuff like that. But you way more focused on cultivating. You way more focused on creating some new thing that can help you and shit like that. You way more focused on on all possibilities and shit like that. So you know it's possible to do that thing. You way more focused on your space. You way more focused on your spirit and shit like that. Beyond your mind and body and shit like that. You know how to control your mind better, and then you actually have physical actions, reactions, and a personal way how to conduct yourself and go about it. And you can see through the illusion type shit. It's not as cloudy. It's not as like you're not lost into the illusion. You point out the illusion that other people are trying to throw on you just from you just being yourself and shit like that. And you can help others conduct themselves better when they see it also and shit like that. It's like aligning your chakras. It's like aligning yourself. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like actually being on your purpose and shit like that. And that shit actually mattering and shit like that. You creating your own purpose. Right? Because niggas can get lost in that concept too, where they sit there like, oh, what's the point of everything? What's my purpose and shit like that? You create it, motherfucker. Based upon your situation and shit. And make it more broad. To where eventually that can help others too, but you still live it in your purpose because you created a purpose. So what's the purpose behind why you're doing it in the first place? And you're not getting lost into the physical version, a synthetic version. You're not getting lost in your mind. You have an overall. It's like you want to keep cultivating that same space that you in. You want to keep doing that again, and you want to focus on that. You ain't never gonna fall off. You ain't never gonna fall off. You can go, bro. You ain't never gonna fall off if you keep focusing way more on that. On God, so but like yeah.